Good morning. I'm going to try really hard to get through all of this. I had a really fun spring break and lost a little bit of my voice. But what I'm really excited about is this has been the talk I've been most excited to give, and these are tears of gratitude and excitement and hope. Just because God has really worked in this area of our marriage for Josh and I am so excited to talk to you about being a friend to your husband, about how friendship impacts marriage. And so Satan, allergies, whatever, can try to take my voice, but it's not going to silence me today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Josh and I, and then I'm going to go into some scriptures and some practical tips, and then I'm going to finish it out with just what we've seen God do. And I'm just so thankful and so excited. Josh and I met in college. We were young and really dumb and naive and thought that all you needed was love, like the Beatles were right. All you need is love. And I was just a little bit older than him, and when I graduated, he was, I guess, like, well, let's just do it. And our parents realized it was futile to talk us into saving money and working for a little while, and so we got married. I went back to grad school, and he finished his undergrad, and we were broke as we could be. But we were having the time of our lives. He had one night off, so he went to school full time, and then he worked 30 hours a week as well. And he had one night off a week, and we would, I'm not even kidding you, get in our cars and find all the coins we could. We'd lift up the couch cushions, we'd dig, and we'd go to Taco Bell and see how many tacos we could buy. And that was our date night every week, and we thought it was the best thing in the whole world. We were having the time of our lives. 18 months into marriage, we discovered that the pill was not effective birth control, which I have warned every teenage girl I know and every unmarried woman I know that it's not, like, that's a whole other talk, right? But you just need to know. It was not effective. And all of a sudden, we went from being broke, having the time of our lives, married couple, to parents. And we didn't have a lot of money. And we decided I would stay home. And so Josh worked really hard so I could stay home. And date nights were less and less. And we wanted to go ahead and finish our family. And so we had 4 kids in 7 years. And he worked hard outside of the home. I worked hard inside of the home. We had friends, and we kind of forgot to be friends with each other. We didn't not like each other, but we were parenting, and we were working, and we just forgot you have to nurture that aspect of your marriage. And so it suffered a little bit. And here's what I want you to hear. If you hear nothing else, I want you to know, as your sex life goes, it's going to be up and down, right? You're going to not be able to have sex right after you have a baby. There are going to be times when you're sick, your husband's sick, your kids are sick, he's traveling, you're traveling. The sexual part of your relationship is so important, but it's going to have some ups and downs. And loving and respecting each other the way we should, there are going to be times your husband might do something that you're like, I don't really respect that decision, or you're going to be a little bit hard to love, because sometimes we just are. If the friendship part of your marriage is strong, it makes it all easier, because when you like your husband, it's honestly easier to want to have sex with him, even if you're tired. And if you like your husband, it's easier to see the best in him and to respect a decision that maybe you wouldn't have made, but you trust him because he's your friend and you know the good in him. Friendship is just a core I didn't get. Like, I just didn't understand it. I thought we liked each other a lot when we got married. We'll probably like each other forever. And we grew apart, and it surprised me. It really, really surprised me. So let's look at why the Bible says we should be friends with our husband. You've probably heard it at a lot of weddings, the Ecclesiastes 4 passage. And I'm going to back it up. Normally in a wedding, it'll say 9 through 12. I want us to back it up and start at verse 7. And it says, I'm going to read it up there so I don't have to put my glasses on. Again, I saw vanity under the sun, one person who has no other, either son or brother, yet there is no end to all his toil, and his eyes are never satisfied with riches, so that he never asks, for whom am I toiling and depriving myself of pleasure? This is also vanity and an unhappy business. But two are better than one because they have a good reward for their toil. And it goes on to say, let me find it in here. If two lie together, they keep warm, but how can one keep warm alone? Though a man might prevail against one who is alone, two will withstand him. A threefold cord is not quickly broken. What I found in our marriage is we were like the man in the beginning. We were toiling. We were working really hard on our own, but not really necessarily for each other. And it was lonely. And at the end of the day, it's like, what did I do that for? Like, I worked really hard with our kids, and I tried to make dinner, and I tried to keep the house clean. And he was working really hard to provide and to be a good husband and a good father. And at the end of the day, because we had let our friendship wane, we weren't in it together. We were made for relationship. We serve a triune God. We serve a God who is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. He designed us to be together and to have relationships. We're stronger that way. We're meant to work together. It just means more when you're doing it together. We can look at Proverbs. It doesn't just make us stronger. It says, oil and perfume make the heart glad, and the sweetness of a friend comes from his earnest counsel. We don't just need the relationship with our husband because it makes us stronger. We need them because they're the person we're going through this life with. And their advice and their counsel should matter to us. I look out and I see one of my sweet friends, and I will call her in a heartbeat for advice or for encouragement. And she's great at it, and I'll never stop doing that. But if I take it or I don't take it, or if it goes well or if it doesn't go well, her heart might hurt for me, or she might rejoice with me, but it doesn't affect her the way it affects Josh. Our husband's advice and counsel should matter to us on a friendship level, because what happens to me happens to him, and what happens to him happens to me. So we need to be involved in each other's life. We need to know what's going on, because it matters, because we affect each other. And it is so precious to get the advice of your spouse, because honestly, whether or not we believe it every single day, they love us more than anyone else does. They want the best for us. And we should feel that way about them too. Whose advice are you seeking? Whose counsel matters to you? Does your husband want to give you advice, or does he know that you're going to just listen to your friends, your other friends, or do what you want to do? Does it matter to you what he thinks? Because it should. And sometimes it didn't for me at all, because I just didn't trust him. Not because of some big violation of trust, but because I just didn't trust him, because I had lost friendship. We weren't working towards the same goals anymore. We're also called to love our husbands. And in John 15, 12 and 13 says, "This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, that someone lay down his life for his friends." What does it look like to love your husband as a friend, not as a lover? Like, we spend a lot of time thinking about how to be romantic and how to love our husbands in that romantic way. And that was so easy in the beginning. I mean, for Josh and I, we were the annoying couple. His roommates hated us. His siblings hated us. We wanted to sit by each other all the time, and we were holding hands all the time, and we were gross and disgusting and in love. And it was great. But at some point, you get tired, and you get touched all day by little people, and the last thing you want is for someone to touch you. Love has to be more than that. That friendship love is part of what Jesus is talking about here too, because he's talking about laying down your life for your friends. He's not talking about the amorous, lovey feelings. He's talking about the way we love our friends and what we would do for our friends and what he did for us. And you have to go back. What does that look like? Well, what does it say in 1 Corinthians 13? Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not self-serving. Love believes the best. It hopes the best. Those are the things that we're doing when we love our husband as Christ loved us, as someone who would lay down their life for their friend. It's easy to forget that our husbands are people. It was for me. Sometimes I forgot he was a person. He was my problem. He was the enemy. He was the reason maybe things weren't going the way I wanted them to go. We just quit looking out for each other. We quit loving each other like friends. In little things, I would do anything for a friend. If someone called me, I'd be there in a heartbeat. But if I got up to go to the bathroom and Josh said, "Could you get me a glass of water?" I was like, seriously? Seriously? For a glass of water? That's not being a friend. It's looking out for their interest and for their best. And what we found was when we didn't nurture that, when we didn't do it in the little things, it got really hard to do in the big things. So I'm going to give you 10 tips before I go back to our story a little bit. I'm going to give you 10 tips. I purposefully did not put them on a slide because I'm the kind of person that if it's on the screen, I'm going to write it down. And all 10 may not apply to you. Just jot down a note if it applies to you. But I just want you to hear my heart and hear what the Lord has put on my heart and not feel like you have to write down 10 things really fast. The first one is friendships require investments. And we have to nurture this aspect after the wedding like we did before. What I tell my kids, to have a friend, you have to be a friend. That's true in our marriage too. If you want your husband to be your friend, be a friend to him. If you want him to come to you and get your advice and your take on something before he calls his buddy or whoever, be that friend to him. Go to him first. Ask him what he thinks and take that advice sometimes. Include him in the fun things. We do hard things together as couples. We're raising kids, we're paying bills, we're making decisions, we're dealing with aging parents. We are living in a world that's scary to live in as a parent. Do the fun things together too. And if you're in a place where financially it's hard to go do the fun things, find a show, binge watch a show together. We have gotten to where we get really excited when the kids go off to do their homework at night because we find a show and we watch at least one episode a night. It is cheap, it is easy, it is lazy and delightful. And just find something fun. We ran a couple half marathons together. That was fun in a different way. Find something you can do together that's fun and include him in the fun things. Find something in common besides your kids. We made a rule when our kids were little not to talk about our kids on dates. Sometimes we made it like 10 minutes. They're cute sometimes or they're driving you crazy sometimes and you just need to vent. But find something else to talk about. Find something else in common. Or when they're gone, you're staring at a stranger. Number 4, monitor where he is on your good news, bad news call list. I'm just going to tell you, he was last on my good news list for too long. And I realized, through the help of some counseling, some of that was a little bit of an inadvertent punishment. I didn't feel like he had earned the right to hear my good news early because he was hurting my feelings or he wasn't being a good friend to me. So I waited to tell him good news until I had told everybody else I wanted to know. How selfish. I regret that, but it's so much fun now to call him. A couple weeks ago, one of my clients called me and said, we have this conference, and we really would love for you to be there. We need you to come present at the conference. Do you think you can do it? So I said, well, I need the dates, I need the location. So they said, it's these certain dates, and it's in Barcelona, Spain, and we'll cover everything. So I was like, could you send that to me in an email? Because one, I needed proof. And two, I needed to make sure I wasn't, going deaf or crazy. For the first time in a long time, Josh was the first person I called. I said, you're never going to believe where they're sending me for work. It was so much fun. I almost forgot to call other people because he was so excited with me. That felt so good. Where is he on your good news, bad news call list? When something really bad happens, is your first thought, I gotta call my mom, I've gotta call my best friend, or is it I need to call my husband? He needs to know where I'm hurting. I need him to be in this with me. Number 5, extroverts and introverts are both created for relationship. It just looks different. So maybe he doesn't need to go out with you and 3 other couple friends, and that's fun friendship building to him. Maybe he needs just a quiet night after the kids are in bed, sitting around talking. Maybe that's you. Maybe that's how you work. Number 6, notice what others appreciate in him as a friend. I was sitting in a counseling session with my very best friend in the whole wide world. Sorry, Josh, it's Janet, my counselor. And that's okay. My whole family knows she's my very best friend in the whole wide world. And I said, she was asking what kind of a friend he is. And I said, he's an amazing friend. I wish I was his friend. And I think that's when it hit me. I didn't feel like I was his friend. But I saw what a great friend he was. I saw the way he hurt when his friends hurt, and he dropped things to go help them, and he would stop and pray for them. One of his best friend's wife had a medical crisis about 8 years ago, and he left everything. It was our kids' fall break. We had plans, and he just looked at me and said, I have to go. And I said, you do, you have to go. And he drove to Kansas City and spent the weekend with his best friend. That's the kind of friend he is. I saw that, but I didn't feel like we had that. Guard the friendship. Number 7 is guard that friendship, because if you aren't nurturing it, something else or someone else will. And I'm not saying that means your husband will have an affair. I'm not saying it means you will. But there will be something that takes the place of your friendship if you're not there. It could be a hobby. It could be a guy best friend. It could be something that's unhealthy. If you don't guard that friendship, you may replace him with someone else, with your mom, with your best friend, with a shopping habit, something that you're using to fill the void of the friendship with your husband. Number 8, watch the ways you try and get his attention. Are they healthy and life-giving? And in what ways is he trying to get your attention? At my most unhealthy, I will get it in a manipulative, critical way. I will let him know I'm paying attention because here are all the things he's not doing right. He will let me know by planning things that aren't with me. How are you looking to get his attention? We notice this with our kids, right? When they act out, and we're like, oh, they're acting out because they want our attention. I'm on the phone and my kids acting the fool because they want me to hang up and play with them. We do that as adults. We're just a little more clever about it. Number 9, pray for him. It's really hard to stay mad at someone you're praying for. Someone told me that early in our marriage. And, back when you can't believe you'll ever be really so mad at your husband that you could ever not want to pray for him. And dadgummit, it's true. It's really hard to stay mad when you're honestly praying for him. And number 10, seek to bring out his best. That's back to what 1 Corinthians 13 says. Seek to bring out his best. Show him patience. Show him kindness. Show him goodness. Show him self-control. Show him that you believe the best in him. I'm honestly not sure if Josh has changed at all, if I'm being honest. What I know is that I'm different, and I want his best, and I want his friendship, and I want him to have fun, just like I want my friends to go on great trips and have good times and experience success. I want that for him now. Somewhere in our marriage, we got really tired, and I talked about this. We just got tired, and we kind of quit looking out for each other. And that started a spiral. And we found other things that made us feel good, and we found other things that brought us joy, and other people who built into us, and we just kind of quit needing each other the way we should. And some things happened during 2020, not just COVID. We had kids with issues. I had job issues. I shared last year, I'd put a lot of identity, and I didn't realize it, into being successful at work, and when work went away, it left me very empty and very lonely. And I realized, because God took everything away, including my oldest daughter, who's just one of my dearest friends. She went to college. And I just felt lonely and empty. And I thought I was hiding it really, really well. I'm not good at hiding things. And about a year ago, my husband said, I just think it would be good for you to go talk to someone. And he was doing it for me. Here's the fun thing. He was doing it for me as a good friend. He didn't expect any personal benefit. He wasn't doing it for himself. He saw I was hurting. My daughter saw I was hurting and said, just, Mom, go talk to someone. It's a good thing to do. So about a year ago, I started investing in that and working through some of the issues. And, sorry, I was trying to cough away from the microphone. Lo and behold, when I started dealing with some of my junk, I started realizing the places that I had put idols or protective things in front of Josh. And I started seeing the ways we were missing out on each other and realizing we're halfway through parenting, like we've got 2 kids left at home and 2 kids gone, and we're going to look at each other one day, and what are we going to have left if we haven't built into each other? And something happened. I don't know when it was. Maybe sometime in the fall. And I got good news, and I called him first. And I started realizing that when I left the office every day, I got in the car and I called him. And I just wanted to tell him about my day. I hadn't wanted to tell him about my day in years. I loved him. I never quit loving him. We never quit being committed to each other. But I didn't care if he was a part of my day-to-day life. I was just okay just co-parenting and loving each other and trying to get away every once in a while for a weekend so we remembered why we liked each other. But not daily being a refuge for him and him being a refuge for me. And what happened was, when I started calling him and telling him about the silly things at work, or the funny things at work, or the funny thing a kid did, or, hey, I heard about a new show, we ought to put this on our list, I also found I was more attracted to him again. And sorry if my kids ever watch this, I wanted sex more than just when he initiated it. And I found that I really did trust his decisions without needing to be part of every step of it. Because for the last several years, I wanted to be involved in every aspect of every decision he made. And as we became friends again, and I really knew his heart, I trusted his decision without knowing all the details. I cannot tell you the peace that comes with not feeling like you have to be a part of everything because you love and trust him. And I really did just want the best for him, and I wanted him to be happy. And then it turns out when I went to Barcelona last week, I missed him. Y'all, for the last several years, 10 years maybe, because I do have 4 kids, and it is nice to get away. When I travel, I don't miss anything. I'm just so excited to be, and I can be very present. I love being where I am, and that's not a bad thing, but I haven't missed my husband in a long time, and I missed him. I just wanted him to be on the double-decker bus with me. His hometown is one of the diving capitals of the country, and we went past the Barcelona, like where they dove for the Olympics, and I probably took more pictures of that than anything because I thought it would mean a lot to him. I like him. I really like my husband. Again, these are tears of joy and gratitude. I never quit loving my husband, but I forgot how fun he is and how kind he is and what a good friend he is. And I cannot tell you what a joy it has been in our marriage to rediscover each other that way. And when I lost my voice, I was like, no. I want you to know our husbands are our friends. And we need girlfriends. We need this. Y'all hear me say that every time I'm up here. We need places like Bloom. We need friends. I need Lacey Caldwell more than she'll ever know. But she's not my husband. And she'll never love me in that way. And we're not on mission together. And your husband is a better lover and a better leader when you see him as your friend. Because if he's not your friend, he's either someone you don't know and you don't care about, or he's your enemy. And neither one of those are good options for a partner for life. So here's what I want you to know. Be his friend. Go on a walk, go on a date, find a show, find a hobby. Get away, switch weekends with your friends to watch your kids. So sorry. Find a way to nurture the friendship. Because if you do, I promise you're also nurturing your sex life, and you're also loving and respecting each other better. Our husbands are great, great friends, or we wouldn't have married them. Let's be honest. We wouldn't have wanted to spend time with them. We wouldn't have been willing to put our dreams on hold. We wouldn't have been willing to go through pregnancy and labor or parenting or just the hard parts of life and do it over and over again if we didn't think they weren't people worth it. Don't forget to be his friend. And just know if you did, and if you have, we were in a place like that for longer than I want to admit. But you can become friends again, and it's even better because I know what I didn't have, and I know what I have now, and I'm not going to let it go again because he's awesome, and he's the last person I talked to before I walked in. I used to let my mom know, and she still knows, and that's still a great friendship. But I sat in the parking lot and said, I'm just really excited to tell them it's good to be a friend with your husband. Let's pray. God, thank you so much that you modeled friendship. And you weren't married on earth, Jesus, so it's just something you taught us how to be. It's part of who you made us to be. God, the song, Old Things Have Passed Away, it just got me today again because you have brought life and hope and joy back into our marriage. I'm so thankful for that. Lord, I just pray over these marriages. God, it is really hard to be married, and it is really hard to parent. So, Lord, can we just remember to look for each other's best and to lay down our life for each other and to want to be friends. because the alternatives are it's someone we don't know or it's an enemy. God, I want to stop and I want to give you just the glory and the praise and just tell you how thankful I am that you redeemed this aspect of our marriage, and that you've allowed me a chance to say it in public and to give you that honor. God, I just pray that you would provide ways for us to be friends to our husband. You would protect the marriages, Lord, and that in the ways we seek attention and friendship would honor you and honor our marriages and our families. We love you and thank you for this day.